The cemetery on the outskirts of Maplewood was quiet that morning, wrapped in a thin veil of mist. Dew clung to the grass like tiny teardrops, and the old willow trees stood still, as if guarding the resting souls below. Among the rows of weathered stones, a young woman knelt by a small grave marked with a simple name. Emma Grace Carter, 1993 to 2020. Beloved daughter and friend. The young woman's clothes were faded, her hands rough from work, but her touch on the cold marble was gentle. She brushed away the leaves, placed a single daisy she had picked from the roadside, and whispered, "I brought your favorite flower again, Emma." Her name was Lila. She was 24, thin, quiet, and carried the kind of sadness that doesn't fade with time, only deepens and softens like worn fabric. Every Sunday, without fail, Lila visited Emma's grave. Rain or shine, summer or frost, she came, always alone. To the townsfolk, she was just that poor girl from the bakery. But to Emma, years ago, she had been a sister, not by blood, but by love. 5 years earlier, when Lila was 19, she worked in a small cafe on Main Street. Her father had died young, her mother was ill, and she barely earned enough to pay rent. Most days, she skipped meals so her mother could eat. Emma, on the other hand, was everything Lila wasn't: bright, wealthy, and free-spirited. The daughter of a successful architect, she could have lived a life of comfort and luxury. But Emma had a heart that noticed things others ignored. One rainy evening, Emma walked into the cafe. Lila was mopping the floor, tired, her shoes soaked from leaks in the roof. Emma ordered tea, and stayed long enough to notice the worn bandage on Lila's hand and the forced smile she gave customers. The next day, Emma came back. Then again. And again. Over the next months, their friendship bloomed quietly. Emma helped Lila get better shoes, brought medicine for her mother, and sometimes just sat and talked. "You don't have to face the world alone, Lila," she'd say. "Everyone deserves a friend." To Lila, Emma wasn't just a friend, she was light in a life of shadows. One winter morning, Emma was on her way to pick up Lila for work when her car skidded on black ice. It happened fast, too fast. By the time Lila reached the hospital, Emma was gone. She remembered collapsing in the corridor, screaming Emma's name until her voice broke. The world had turned gray. After Emma's funeral, her wealthy family moved away, broken by grief. Lila was left alone, but she made a promise. "I'll visit you every week, Emma. I won't let you be forgotten." 4 years passed. Life went on, as it always does. Lila's mother had died too, quietly in her sleep. Lila still worked at the bakery, the same routine, the same ache. But every Sunday, she came to the cemetery with flowers. People noticed her devotion. Some whispered, she must have been family. Others said, she's mad, visiting a rich girl's grave. But Lila didn't care. It was kindness, the only thing Emma ever asked her to hold on to. One spring morning, as Lila knelt by the grave, she heard footsteps behind her. Heavy, deliberate, the kind that belonged to someone used to power. She turned and saw a tall man in a black suit, maybe in his 40s. His shoes were polished, his wristwatch glinted, the kind of man who didn't belong in her world. He stood silently beside her, eyes fixed on Emma's grave. His jaw tightened. Then he spoke, his voice deep but trembling. "She was my wife." Lila froze, unsure if she had heard right. "Your wife?" she whispered. He nodded, his eyes glassy with tears. "Emma Grace Carter. We married a year before she died." Lila's heart thudded. Emma had never told her. I didn't know," she stammered. "She never mentioned." He smiled faintly. "She didn't tell many people. Her family didn't approve. I was much older, from a different world." He looked at Lila for the first time, really looked. Her trembling hands, the wilted flower, the worn cardigan. "You've been coming here a long time," he said softly. "The caretaker told me." Lila lowered her head. I didn't want her to be forgotten." Tears welled in his eyes. "You were her friend." "Yes," she whispered. "Her only one, I think." The man, Daniel, stood silent for a while, then sighed. "Emma used to talk about a girl at the cafe. A girl who never stopped smiling even when her world was falling apart. That was you, wasn't it?" Lila bit her lip, tears falling freely now. She was the only one who ever cared. Daniel knelt beside her, his expensive trousers brushing the damp grass. "Then you cared for her too. That means you're part of her story, and mine." Over the next hour, they talked, quietly, gently, as if afraid to break the silence that wrapped Emma's resting place. Daniel told her about his life, a lonely businessman who met Emma at an art gallery, drawn not by her beauty but by her kindness. "She gave without expecting anything back," he said. "She made the world softer." Lila smiled through tears. That's exactly who she was. For years, Daniel had traveled abroad, burying his grief under work. He didn't know Lila existed, not until a week ago, when he visited the cemetery for the first time in years and saw the fresh flowers someone kept leaving. "I thought it was her family," he said. "But when the caretaker told me it was a young woman, every Sunday, I knew I had to meet you." Lila looked away, embarrassed. "It was nothing." "It was everything," he replied gently. "You've done what even I couldn't, kept her memory alive." Before leaving, Daniel pulled out a small card. "I own a foundation," he said. "We help women find education, shelter, jobs." It was Emma's dream. She started it before she died, but it fell apart after. He paused, then added softly, "Would you help me rebuild it?" Lila blinked, stunned. "Me?" "Yes. You understand what kindness means. Emma trusted you once. I think she still would." Lila hesitated. "But I'm just a bakery girl. I don't know anything about foundations." Daniel smiled. "You know about love. That's more than enough." She wanted to say no, fear, doubt, all of it holding her back. But then she looked at Emma's grave, at the daisy lying there. Emma had always believed she was capable of more. Lila nodded slowly. "Okay. I'll try." Months passed. The Emma Grace Foundation came back to life, a small, warm office filled with laughter, second chances, and stories. Lila worked tirelessly, helping women find homes, training, and hope. She spoke to them like Emma once spoke to her, with gentleness and belief. Daniel watched her with quiet admiration. "You've become what she dreamed," he told her one evening as they locked the office. Lila smiled faintly. "No. We have." Every Sunday, she still visited the grave, but now she wasn't alone. Daniel often came too. They would bring flowers together, sometimes sit for hours in silence. "She's not gone," Lila once said. "She's here, in every kind thing we do." Daniel nodded. "She'd be proud of you." A year later, Daniel gave Lila a box. "I found this in her old drawer," he said. "It's addressed to you." With trembling hands, Lila opened it. Inside was a folded letter, yellowed with time. "My dearest Lila. If you're reading this, it means I'm no longer with you. Please don't cry. You gave me more friendship than I ever deserved. You reminded me that love doesn't always need grand gestures, sometimes it's just showing up when no one else does. If life is kind, you'll find someone who sees you like I did, pure, strong, and brave. And if life is cruel, promise me you'll keep helping others. Kindness is the only thing that keeps us alive even after we're gone. With love. Emma." Lila pressed the letter to her heart. She knew, she whispered through tears. She always knew. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. Then let's keep her promise alive. 5 years passed. The foundation grew into a nationwide charity. Lila became its director, known for her humility and compassion. She still wore the same daisy pin Emma had once given her. One evening, after a long day, she visited the cemetery again. Daniel was already there, older now, silver streaks in his hair. He smiled softly as she approached. I think she would have liked seeing us together, not sad anymore, but grateful. Lila nodded. She brought 2 broken souls together and healed us both. They stood in silence as the sun dipped behind the hills, painting the sky with shades of gold and rose, Emma's favorite colors. Before they left, Lila placed 2 daisies on the grave this time. One from her. One from Daniel. Then she whispered, "You taught us both what love really means." Years later, when people spoke about Lila Carter, yes, she had taken Emma's surname to honor her, they spoke of a woman who changed countless lives. They said she came from nothing, yet gave everything. They said she carried a warmth that could melt the hardest hearts. And every time someone asked her why she devoted her life to helping others, she smiled and said, "Because once, a kind woman gave me hope, and a kind man helped me pass it on." Then, when no one was watching, she'd still visit that grave on Sunday mornings. Not to mourn anymore, but to say thank you. The grave was never lonely again. Neither was she. Kindness never dies, it lives through every hand that reaches out, every heart that remembers, and every soul brave enough to love without expecting anything in return.